Before making it to the Pro Bowl 6 times, George Kittle wasn't a well-known athlete. He was a two-star recruit from Norman High School. But if you really want to know where it began for George Kittle, it was back in October 9th, 1993, where he was born to Bruce and Jan Krieger. And the ability to dominate at sports really began with his parents, as Bruce was a four-year letterman and co-captain of the 1982 Rose Bowl squad at Iowa. Meanwhile, Jan was an All-American softball player at Drake and also was in the Iowa High School Athletic Union Hall of Fame. But the athletes don't end there, as his sister Emma was a Division I athlete playing volleyball at University of Iowa and University of Oklahoma. Kittle's athletic career, though, really began at Norman High School in Norman, Oklahoma, where he was a wide receiver as well as a defensive back. According to 24/7 Sports, he was ranked as a two-star athlete, but when you turn on the film, he looks pretty dominant out there. And it's the same things you see on Sunday night, like him driving a kid into the floor on just a normal block. And then the very next play, he'll route you up, catch you in the end zone, just make a fool out of you. And I wasn't the only one who noticed this on tape. After being ranked a two-star recruit, he received numerous offers, including from Iowa, Air Force, Navy, and Weber State. Ultimately, Kittle did decide to enroll at Iowa, and during his freshman year in 2012, they redshirted him while he transitioned over to tight end. That year, though, he also met his future wife in Claire. She played on the basketball team there. Meanwhile, Kittle's relationship with his dad continued to expand as Bruce wrote him a letter before every single game. As George Kittle put it, it evolved from just a pregame hype speech to a pregame story. It connects my life and childhood to every single game. He even pulls stories from battles in Lord of the Rings and applies it to the NFL playoffs. That following year in 2013, he had his first collegiate reception against the Missouri State Bears. Overall in the year, he caught 5 passes for 108 yards. The following season in 2014, he once again returned to a crowded tight end room and only had 1 catch for 25 yards on the year. Entering the 2015 season, Kittle saw his role expand for the Hawkeyes, and on September 26, 2015 against North Texas, he scored his first collegiate touchdown ever from future 49ers quarterback C.J. Beathard. On total on the year, he had 6 receiving touchdowns, which ranked 6th in the Big Ten Conference, and he also had 290 receiving yards. But maybe even more impressive was how dominant he was as a blocker. Truly, he looked like an offensive lineman playing the tight end position. When you look at the intricacies of his blocks, for instance, he has great pad level, always strikes with his hands inside the opponent's frame, and does an excellent job with his footwork, especially on reach blocks. Meanwhile, in the passing game, he shows off the sure hands you love out of a tight end that just sit there and become a quarterback's best friend. You could also see glimpses of his athleticism during Iowa, which would redefine the tight end position for years to come in the NFL. He is extremely fast and violent with the ball in his hands. This all translated to his best season statistically during his senior year, which he had 22 receptions for 314 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. Maybe the most mind-boggling stat I've heard about George Kittle's collegiate career is he only dropped 1 pass during his entire career at Iowa. And that's a big reason Mike Mayock and a lot of different analysts had George Kittle as one of their top tight ends in the entire class, with probably one of the only question marks being his route running. Due to Iowa's pro-style offense, Kittle didn't run that many routes and they didn't look all that refined. But during the combine, he showed the athleticism you could only hope for out of a tight end. He ranked 3rd among all tight ends in this draft, ran his 40-yard dash in 4.52 seconds, his 10-yard split in 1.51 seconds, and put up the bench press 18 times. After this otherworldly combine, the projection on Kittle was that he was going to go in the 3rd, maybe the 4th. But he fell all the way to the 5th round, where San Francisco picked him up with the 2nd pick in that round. Entering the 2017 season after being selected, Kittle was in a similar position he was in Iowa, entering a crowded tight end room. He had to compete with Selleck, McDonald, Paulson, Bell, and Hitakuni for the starting job. But unlike his time at Iowa, Kittle immediately grabbed onto these starting duties and was named the starter by Kyle Shanahan headed into the Carolina Panthers season opener. Immediately, you could tell George Kittle was going to be a special type of tight end. Not only could he block, but he was one of San Francisco's most productive receiving weapons this year. He had 515 yards as a rookie and 2 touchdowns. His 515 yards were the most by a 49ers rookie tight end since the merger in 1970 and ranked second among all tight ends. Impressive as George Kittle's rookie campaign was, I don't think anyone was expecting what he was going to do during his 2018 campaign. Not only did George Kittle become the first 49ers tight end to eclipse 1,000 yards receiving, but his 1,377-yard season was the most by a tight end ever. Alongside these statistics, he also got his first Pro Bowl nod, and this is the year I think we really started to understand this is a Hall of Fame player we're watching. Not only can he lead your offense in receiving yards in the first half with 210 yards against the Denver Broncos, but he's also the player that can drive opposing defensive linemen into the ground. Reinforcing this belief, the following year in 2019, Kittle once again eclipsed 1,000 yards with 1,052 yards, and his 2,945 yards in his first 3 seasons set an NFL record for tight ends. He also earned his second Pro Bowl appearance this year, so there was no surprise during 2020 that George Kittle received a $75 million contract extension for 5 years, making him the highest paid tight end in the league. Unfortunately for Kittle though, that season was injury plagued. He dealt with a knee injury before finally ending up on IR with a broken foot. Somewhat impressively though, he still was able to pick up 634 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns in just 8 games. The following year in 2021, he missed a couple of games with a calf injury, but he still was able to reach 910 receiving yards in 14 games and also had 6 touchdowns, including a postseason touchdown, his first of his career. This year, he also earned his 3rd Pro Bowl nomination. What I love about Kittle though is regardless of all of these accolades, he continues to improve as a player. During his 2022 season with Brock Purdy, for instance, he caught 11 touchdowns, which was the most of his career in a single season, and he also had 765 receiving yards, and his 4th Pro Bowl nomination this year tied Brent Jones' franchise record for total career Pro Bowl selections by a tight end in 49ers history. The following year during his full season with Brock Purdy, he once again eclipsed 1,000 yards with 1,020 yards and 6 touchdowns on the year. He broke Brent Jones' record this year completely with his 5th Pro Bowl nod. And most recently during the 2024 season, Kittle continued to show his dominance on the football field, accumulating 1,106 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns on the year while earning his 6th Pro Bowl nomination. In total for his career, Kittle has played in 113 games and has 7,380 receiving yards and 45 touchdowns. This not only cements George Kittle as the best tight end in 49ers history, but arguably the best tight end in NFL history. He can catch, he can block, he really can do it all, and I think it's made even more impressive that he was a 5th round pick and a 2-star recruit in high school. But I'd like to hear your thoughts down below, and it would mean a ton if you could like and subscribe, and as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.